right, you ready for tonight?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Criticizing. Somebody criticizing somebody?
I have never been criticized. I had to study about this one because I wasn't sure what criticism was.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, aren't you a lucky one?
It's always
You must be perfect.
I tell you, in my life, I just don't get people. How about that?
Well, that's helpful.
Now, we are going to talk about criticism. In fact, with the masters tonight, we'll talk about criticism from the standpoint of a boss criticizing the employee. Ran into a situation before, an individual that I knew fairly well. And anyway, the boss would give work to be done. And so, for example, you would have one report that would be due on Friday, and then the following Friday, you would have another report to be due. The problem is the first report was never good enough. So when Monday morning came, the boss probably spent about an hour on it, sent it back to the employee and said it's not any good, redo it, no comments on why. The employee would ask the manager would say, look, I can't even believe you turned that in. So now for the next Friday, they've got 2 reports due. Then it happened again. The third Friday, they got 3 reports due. I mean, it just started just building up.
Sounds like a snowball.
It was a snowball.
Wow.
But we're going to go a different avenue tonight because we're going to deal with the children of Israel and their journey out of Egypt. And we're going to take a little different perspective. We're going to look how the criticism from them toward Moses and ultimately God just didn't go well. And the hilarious part about it, if we want to say such, I'll use that term gingerly, is that the children of Israel were the ones who begged for God to get them out of Egypt. It's kind of like taking kids because they want to go to Six Flags over Georgia, as an example. So you turn around and you say, okay, I'm going to take them to Six Flags over Georgia. I think it'll be nice. I think they'll love it. And the whole way there, they start complaining. If we'd have just stayed at home, we wouldn't be eating this crappy food because there's no McDonald's on the way, for example. Oh, if we'd have been at home, it wouldn't be so hot like it is now. You just finally want to throw your hands up. That's pretty much where we come to tonight. So we're going to start and talk about the children of Israel, their journey as they leave Egypt, and how all this, well, at first, before they left Egypt, but then how God and Moses both came pretty angry at them toward the last. So we're going to go through 8 situations. I'll see how quickly I can do this tonight. So we're going to start off when they were in Egypt. And the first thing that happened, of course, Moses and Aaron was a spokesman, they wanted to take the children outside of Egypt to worship God. Well, needless to say, it didn't take time before Pharaoh didn't like that one. So at one point he told them, look, got to keep making bricks, but we're no longer going to get you straw. So you figure out how to do it. And you keep up the same daily rate, if not more, in producing bricks. So people of Israel, they were out there looking for stubble, just little stalks kind of sticking up out of the ground, whatever they could in order to, change it over for the straw. Well, that also meant that they, quote, weren't making as many bricks because they were spending their time trying to find the stubble in order to make brick from that. And of course, they started whining to Moses. They're like, look, and this is after they, of course, cried to God, wanted to get out of Egypt. And they're like, man, it's your fault. If you had just told this guy, Pharaoh, that you were going to take us out of here, we wouldn't have to deal with this. That's situation number 1. It is all Moses' fault. Number 2, so they start heading out, of Israel. And in doing so, there was a man called Pharaoh who they'd been working for, as we just talked about. He decided to follow them along. In fact, he followed them to the point that they started seeing him coming. And the Israelites, they started complaining because there was a lot of them people coming at us. And so what did they do? They looked over at Moses. Said, why did you take us out of Egypt? You should have left us there. This guy's going to kill us right in the middle of the wilderness. We may have had it bad there, but we're about to have it worse here. And of course, it didn't happen that way. Moses, with God leading him, opened the water so they could cross over the Red Sea, la-di-da-di-da, and then the waters came back, and of course, the Egyptians passed, needless to say, away. And you're like, well, that should be it. They saw this great miracle, so they should be happy now. No. Well, what's the third one? Well, they come up on some water. They just finished out the Red Sea, and they come up to a place afterwards. Let's see, it was Mara, and they couldn't drink the water because it was bitter. And so they started complaining to Moses. Well, at least we had water back in Egypt, good tasting water. Oh, Moses prayed to God. God said, throw a particular tree in the water. He did. He cut it, threw it in there. Needless to say, the water became sweet. Everybody should be happy again. We're back on our trip going to Six Flags, right? All good. No, not yet. Because let's see here. What about number 4? Uh, they were hungry. They wanted something to eat. Well, that's normal. So that's good. We got to stop by McDonald's or somewhere and get them something to eat. Well, God sent manna. Manna is like a type of a seed. Uh, and the people, of course, they would grind the seed up. They'd make cakes into it. And I understand that it tasted like fresh oil. So I don't know how great it tasted, but at least it was food. And they got food. They had that every day when the dew came, in the mornings when they went out. So they had something to eat. They should be satisfied at this point. We're still not there yet with them. Number 5, wanted water again. You're kidding me. No, they were traveling along and they got to Refidim, and there wasn't any water to drink. So they murmured to Moses. They started getting a little bit more pushy, How they put it? Thou hast brought us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst. We're just going to all die of thirst. Mom, I need that Coca-Cola. If you don't stop at that store, just, oh my goodness, I'm going to die of thirst right here. Better off is at a house. I got a 6-pack of Coke in there I could have drank. It's like, really, folks? Give me time.
Sounds familiar.
Oh my goodness. Well, and of course, Moses then turned to God and he cried to him and he said, Lord, help me here. He said, they're about ready to stone me to death. Well, needless to say, water was supplied. But it started getting a little bit more terse, if we want to call it that. Number 6. Moses went up the mount, and we all heard the story, know the story where he got the 2 tablets, the 10 commandments, and he was gone for 40 days and 40 nights. People weren't too happy because Moses was gone. They wanted to know where he went. Aaron said, well, he went up there, he's talking with God. Well, give us something to worship, Aaron. Because this Moses guy isn't going to come back, it looks like. We need something as a God that we can worship, that we believe in, that'll help us get out of this wilderness. So Aaron listened to the people. He turned around and told them to bring all the gold that they have, earrings, whatever, and they made a golden calf, la, la, la. And of course, the story goes, Moses came down the mountain. He saw it. He's having it fed. He broke the plates, so to speak. They had the 10 commandments, the tablets. He turned around. He had the golden calf broken down, ground up, sprinkled it into the water, and made the people drink that water. Oh my goodness. But the thing of it is, when he was talking to Aaron, like, why did you do this? And Aaron said, it's the people's fault. You know how they are. They wanted somebody to lead them because you weren't going to be around. Oh, Moses was having a fit then. All right. So that was number 6. Man, I'm doing pretty good here. I'm happy tonight. Let's see here. Number 7. We complained about manna before. Well, they wanted something better. This is like, the McDonald's didn't get it. Now we need a steak dinner. Can we have that one next? This time, though, they wanted flesh. And they started complaining to Moses, saying, when we were back in Egypt, when we were back home, Oh, my
goodness. We wanted to leave.
Right? Where we wanted to leave, yes. Oh. When we were back home, we turned around and had flesh in our pots. Oh my goodness, we had onions. Oh, let's see here. All these good things to eat. And we're out here and all we got this manna, just tastes like oil. Yuck. So God wasn't happy. Moses prayed to God. God wasn't happy, but he turned around and sent to them fowl from the air, pigeons that they could eat. Well, the people got a little bit greedy. They were staying up day and night in order to get all the pigeons that they could. Roasted them, whatever, and they were just having a great feast. Well, the problem was before they got all the meat out of their teeth, they started getting sick. Several of them died, needless to say, through this process. But that was God's way of kind of like, be grateful and thankful what I do give you. So now we're going to go for the last one. Well, what's the last? Well, I think the last is the best, and that is they've reached the promised land. It's time for them to believe. Ask me and God, he's got them all the way through all these things. So Moses sent 12 men in there to look to see what the promised land looked like. And it was everything that you could imagine. Oh, it had great fruit, it was green, luscious, la la la. Problem was, though, it had people there. And the people were some big people. Looked like they were some mighty soldiers. And the people were like, you brought us out here for them just to kill us. We can't believe you brought us all the way to Six Flags for them just to take our lives. Oh my goodness. So needless to say, that disturbed them pretty much, Moses and God, because they even said they wanted to have another leader. Let us make a captain and let us return unto Egypt. And then God, of course, told Moses, he says, pretty much that's it. He said, these people who are alive today, they're never going to get into that promised land. It'll be their children or their children's children, but it's not going to be them. So what's the walkaway message tonight? Criticism can go two ways. Yes, it can come from a leader, the boss, down to you. But if you're a leader, boss, you got to be careful. You can be a little bit too ginger to the employees and they can start criticizing everything you do. At one point, Moses said to God, he said, I've had so much, just kill me. If I've done what I needed to do, just take my life and get this over with. That's number one. The second point, as a leader or as an employee, whichever way that you're receiving the criticism, Moses did one thing that I was always proud to see in here, and that is he always brought God into the picture. They would say to him, Moses, it's you. And Moses say, let me go talk to God because this is what God wanted. Let me ask the Lord. And so if you're being criticized by a boss, you got to think in your mind, look, what does God want here? Instead of you trying to fight against that boss, you might even tell him, well, let me check with God to see what he wants on this matter. Because if you think about it, we talked about it many times, is that our careers are based upon the talents that God gave us, and he wants us to use those talents to serve him. And it may be, you got a pencil pushing job that I had for many years. Might be as a pharmacist that I did for a while, might even be as a lawyer. But what you're doing, what you're learning, God wants that in order to serve him for the goodness of him. So ask him, call upon him. And you might even tell the boss that. Let me check with God and I'll get back with you.
Yeah.
That's my spin.
Yeah. No, good stuff. I mean, we need to be grateful and try to look at the positives. I mean, of course, there's always, things that you want to criticize, but, we talk about the grateful so much, let's try to be grateful for what we do have. And like you said, it's good to, you definitely want to keep him in your life to, go for counseling.
Amen.
Because he does have a mission. And, these jobs that we have, like you said, you learn stuff from them to help out with the mission eventually too. So, yeah.
I'm not going to Six Flags anytime soon, though. Anyway.
Yeah, all these fun things and trips, they look so fun, but there's always some downsides to them.
There's always a downside.
Yeah.
Even at the job too, as you pointed out.
Yeah. So.
All righty, boss. It's about 18 after. I think I'm okay tonight.
All right. Well, great.
Thank
Enjoyed
you.
the story as usual.
And you can criticize me after we get off. Thanks again for having me.
Criticize me too. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.